Hi everyone, it's Marguerite with Wreaths by Marguerite. Welcome to the channel where we turn ribbon mesh and a little creativity into beautiful wreaths you love. Today's tutorial is about the fall kit that I have for sale on my Etsy shop. This is the number 2 kit for 2025. This one's a Scarecrow with that smoky blue that's really popular. So let's jump in and get started. Here we go. Okay, let's get started on the fall kit number 2. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the product in your kit and the tools that you should need, most of which will be something you have around the home already. You don't have to go out and invest in any fancy tools at this point. Make sure you're happy with what you're doing and you're planning to continue, and then I would go out and get some more specialized tools. So first thing we're going to start with is the ring. This is the base of your wreath. It's a 14¼ inch ring. Put it over there where you can see it a little bit better. And it has 12 sets of pipe cleaners on it. When you get your kit, I'm pulling the outside 6 out and away from the ring because those are the ones that we are going to use first. So like I said, there's 6 around the outside of the ring. Attached to rings 1 and 2. It has to be a 4-ring frame to work for this style of wreath. So 1 and 2 have 6 pipe cleaners at the crossbars. There's 6 crossbars, so there's 6 pipe cleaners, 1 on each. Then on rings 3 and 4, you have 6 more pipe cleaners attached in between the crossbars on rings of 3 and 4. That way, the second layer of mesh sits in between the first layer of mesh. So that's the first thing you gotta have. So that's those. Then your solid foundation, we often refer to it, this idea is from one of my mentors. We refer to this as the bra portion of our wreath. It is the solid foundation that holds everything up. You're going to receive 12 to 13 pieces of this smoky blue mesh cut in a 20-inch length each piece. This is 10-inch mesh. Why I say 12 or 13 is 12 is what you need to build the wreath. 12 pipe cleaners, 12 pieces of mesh. I usually give you an extra piece just in case, and you could use it elsewhere if you don't need to use it. That way, if you make a mistake, excuse me, and you're following the directions as I explain them, you're not going to ruin a bunch of pieces at one time. If you make a mistake on one, you have one to work with. That's how I keep the prices of the kits down as well. Then you're going to have the ribbon. You are going to need 12 pieces of each of the ribbons in the kit because you have 12 pipe cleaners and 12 pieces of mesh. Get it? 12, 12, 12. Okay? They're all cut at 12 inches in length because that's the standard average size for ribbon tails on this style wreath. Going down the road, you can do 13 or 14. I find 14 to be way too long, and 13 is a little iffy. So I've chosen in this kit to go with 3 2.5-inch ribbons. That's this way, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. You can do any combination of 2 to 3 ribbons on a storm door wreath, but you get more coverage when you do 3 2.5-inch ribbons. I like to have a solid color to break up the patterns, or you can do all patterns or all solid colors. That's entirely up to you, but this is what I went for. Now, how did I determine the ribbons for this kit? It's all started with the sign. The sign dictated my colors and designs as well. There's a Scarecrow there. There's the Scarecrow here. He's this one right here. So you get a lot of colors in there that you can also coordinate with. You don't have to stick with, you know, orange and green and brown or blue. There's a navy blue in here. There is a yellow. What else is there? I think there's, and then there's glitter in there. As well as the orange glitter. You could use a glitter ribbon on this, but we didn't do that in this kit. We're keeping it simple. You got glitter in here. Okay? So when you receive your kit, your ribbon is going to be folded like this. Already folded at the 12-inch length you need it, and then you'll cut them. So for now, we're going to put this away after I explained to you that I've already attached pipe cleaners to the back of the sign. This is 2 pipe cleaners cut in half. If you're doing it on your own, you just cut 2 of them in half. They're stapled on the sign with 1/4-inch staples. Do not use more than a 1/4-inch staple when you're stapling your pipe cleaners into a wooden sign, because they will go through to the front and you don't want that to show. If you're not sure whether it's going to go through or not, the best suggestion is to go with a cable timeout instead of pipe cleaners and staples. These are cable tie mounts. Let me see if I can get this to zoom in here. So these are just little 1x1 cable tie mounts. They come with or without the sticky on the back. You want the black ones most of the time. You can also get the white. They also make a little bit bigger. It's up to you. If you use this, you're going to want to use a super glue underneath of it, and then a hot glue around the edge. But for the sake of these kits, I've done all that for you, so that's less to worry about. If you're planning to further develop your talent, or if you're just doing these for fillers, you already know all that stuff and what you can do. Okay, so for now, I'm going to put the sign over here and out of the way because we're not going to need that till the end. And I've already pre-cut most of the ribbon for this kit so that we can expedite the tutorial. You can always back up and rewatch as many times as you want on the tutorials since they're free. So there's no reason for me to go through every little piece. But if you do want that super deep tutorial, you need to go back to some of my videos at the beginning of 2024 where I cut every single piece of everything on camera. So if you want that super detail, you want to do that. Now, since I have a solid colored ribbon in this design, I like to handle them first. Why do you do that, Marguerite? Well, there's a right side, a finished side, and a back side, which is an unfinished side, even on solid colored ribbons. In general, you can't tell the difference between the front and the back most of the time with a solid colored ribbon. But if you're anything like me, if you put it in wrong and you're not sure, you're never going to let it go in your brain. So for the sake of the tutorial, I left some of them still in their bundles. So we're going to go ahead and get the ribbon ready before we do anything else. Then that way everything is ready to go, okay? So your bundles look like this. There's half of them should be on one side and half on the other. That's not exactly true because you're going to get 13 pieces of each ribbon and you only need 12. So I'm going to put this out of the way. We're going to need the scissors now, and shortly we'll need wire cutters. We may need needle nose, may or may not. A really thin dowel or a pen or a pencil, they serve the same purpose. So don't go out and buy wood dowels, just use a pen or pencil and a chip clip. I use that with the mesh, and you'll see why in just a few moments, okay? So we're ready for the scissors, and we're going to cut this bundle. So once you determine the center, which is right here on this, I usually put 1 to 2 fingers in the middle, and I cut at the top at one end because they're already pre-measured for you. Pardon, I'm dry today. And then the other end at the bottom. And before I lay them on the table, I know these right here that are facing up have the finished side up, and these that were from the bottom of the stack have the finished side down, so I'm going to immediately turn them over so I know that all of them are finished side up. Then I'm going to go ahead and fold them each directly in half right away. Put a nice crease in the end. Fold it directly in half with the finished side on the inside of the ribbon. Okay? We're going to do that with all the ribbons now. Now, why do I do this right away with the solid colored ribbon? What happens if I walk away and I knock them off the table, or the dog gets in here and knocks it off the table, or if I just, whatever, gets moved around? Then you're questioning what the right or wrong side is. And that's why I always do that right away. Then I'm going to take the other ones that I've already pre-cut the same way and fold them in half, directly in half with the finished side on the inside. And then I'm going to do this with the final one. Just remember, you want coordinating ribbon. It doesn't have to match exactly, but we're fortunate with such supplies out there these days that I could get the exact matching Scarecrow to the exact sign. I'm pretty sure it's the same companies that make most of this stuff, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring you in a little bit because I'm going to show you how you should cut these. What you're going to do is you're going to take each one at a time, and you're going to make sure that the folded side where you put the crease in is laying flat on the table, and you're going to make sure that the wires are even, and then you're going to fold it evenly in half so the wires are right on top of the wires. The cut edge is facing the ceiling. So now you're going to take your scissors and cut from the new fold up to the wired edge to give yourself a dovetail or a V, whatever you want to call it. Let's see, can I go any tighter? That's probably as tight as I want to get. Clean as you go, or at least as you finish each grouping. So folded side down, cut side to the ceiling, fold it like a taco, wire to wire, cut from the new fold to the wire. And you're just going to do this with all 36 pieces that you need, 12 of each. And if you don't make any mistakes, which I have confidence you will not make, you'll have a few extra pieces of ribbon and a piece of mesh to do something else with. Folded side down, wire to wire, cut side towards the ceiling, fold it in half. Okay? There is also troubleshooting guides in the first quarter of 2024's video. I encourage you to go watch that so that if you do make a mistake on one, you know how to correct it. There's only one situation where you can't correct a mistake on these, and that's if you turn it upside down with the fold towards the ceiling, because if you cut it here, you're going to end up with 2 pieces of short ribbon. Just saying. So folded side always down at the table. Cut side always up towards the ceiling. Fold in half, wire to wire, cut from the fold to the wire. And just continue. Folded side down, cut side up, fold in half, cut from new fold to the wire at a 45-degree angle. Just continue that till you get them all done. Folded side down, fold in half, wire to wire, cut from the new fold to the wire at a 45-degree angle. You don't want to go any deeper than that, which you'll see in the troubleshooting guide on the earlier videos, because what happens is if you go too far down, if you cut this much deeper than I did here, if you cut it at an extreme angle, you're going to end up with these tails here buckling on each other when they go into the design, and you don't want that. You want strong ribbon that's standing tall. So wired side down, nope, folded side down, fold in half, wire to wire, from the new fold to the wires, cut up at an angle, 45 degrees, a little stray string there, and gives you that design. Folded side down, make sure those wires are evenly against each other, otherwise you'll have one V on each side, a different shape. Fold it in half, wire to wire, now cut with it facing the ceiling from the new fold to the wire at a 45-degree angle, okay? So then I clean up all my ribbon, because anything you leave on the table is going to attach to your wreath, and you don't want that to happen. Causes snags, among other things. And sometimes your ribbon will settle. What I mean by that is the wire will stick out of the top of the ribbon. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. So now, the design I'm going with this style is I want the scarecrow on the top when it's on the wreath. Then I want the smoky blue to break it up, so I'm going to put it behind this scarecrow. And then I want this beautiful stripe with the fall colors on the bottom. So I put that in the bundle last. So I make all my bundles. Scarecrow, smoky blue, stripe. Plaid, I should say. Smoky blue in the middle. So scarecrow, smoky blue, and plaid. This was an extra. Alright, so I got all my ribbon. I got everything ready to go. Everything's cut. Now comes the fun part, putting it all together. So the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure your pipe cleaners on the inner ring, those 6 that are on rings 3 and 4, are facing the center of your wreath so that they're not interfering with your progress building the outside. Then the next thing I always suggest is to take the outside ring, and each one directly in front of you, you take your pipe cleaners and put them horizontal to you. Turn the ring, make them horizontal to you. If you bring the wreath around instead of reaching across the table, you're going to put less stress on strain on your arms and your back and hips and everything, sitting or standing. I do predominantly all my work sitting due to medical issues. So I'm getting these all done, and now I'm going to come back, and this is the first one I'm going to work on. I recommend as a new person to make sure that you have it directly in front of you like this. Now I don't know if it's because I'm left-handed, but I like to work a little angle. I feel like I feel more comfortable. I don't feel like I'm straining my arms or back as much either. So I'm going to put the rest of the mesh up here in front of me, and this is where I'm going to use the chip clip. This is going to be my tool to use with the mesh. So when we work with the mesh on this particular wreath style, we always have it curl side down. So see how it naturally curls? We're going to have the curl side down on the table, and I like to use the edge of the table to help keep it unrolled. Sometimes I have to sit my phone or a tool on top of it, especially when you get to the pieces in the center of this roll. They're going to be more tightly wound and they're going to stay curlier, and you'll see that as we go along. So this is a solid colored mesh, so we first need to find the center on it. With a patterned mesh, it's a little bit easier. There's usually a stripe or a plaid that you can visually use to guide you in ruffling your mesh. This does not have this, so the way to find your center, you can use a ruler, a cutting mat if you have one, or nothing at all. Like I said, you don't need a whole lot of tools to do this. So to do that, you just fold it directly in half, and you get a chip clip or any other clip you have, and there you go. There's your center. And then I go ahead and do that on the other end too as well to make sure that I'm right. And then I use that chip clip as a guide to help me stay in the center as I'm ruffling to the top. Now there's two ways to ruffle. The first 6 I'm going to do one way, and then the second 6 I'm going to do the second way. The second way is the most comfortable for me. This is the most used right here. So you have to find what you're comfortable with. I'm just giving you guidelines. So the first thing to know is to make sure your thumbs are on the outside of the mesh, and you're going to take the rest of your fingers and your hands and you're going to crawl up the mesh, making small gathers as you go, and you bring it down to you as you go. And this is trying to get out of the straight line already. So that's why I love that clip at the top. It really helps me stay focused and bringing everything back to the center as it decides to have a mind of its own, because it does. This is an all plastic, all poly mesh. That means it's absolutely waterproof, water resistant. It'll get wet and dry, no problem. So what I did was I got it all done. I put it in my thumb and forefinger, and I'm holding it loosely so that if my ends don't match up, I can loosely adjust it without damaging the design in the mesh. So over here, this is about a 1 inch longer. We're looking for it to be an exact circle. So you never grab it at the edge because you can change the design in the mesh. You grab it down by your thumb and forefinger to bring it out, to make sure that it's as even as possible. Okay, just never grab it at the very edge. Anywhere in the closest third to your thumb and forefinger is safe because no one will ever see it. Just stay out of that outer 2/3, okay? So now we're going to bring the frame back over. And like I said, bring it this way or at a slight angle, and you're going to put the mesh in the frame centered in that pipe cleaner vertically, okay? You're going to bring those pipe cleaners up, and you're going to very tightly twist them tight and low. Not up in the air, tight and low to the table 2 to 3 times. 3 is always the safest. And then bring it up out of the way. Why do you do that? That keeps the height of this wreath lower. Our goal with the storm door slash screen door slash pancake style wreath, pancake's the original name for it. I just got tired of people asking me if you could eat it, so I just went with storm and screen door. It's funny about the first 100 times. Okay, so now that we have it secured in here, we have it as low as possible. We are now going to adjust the mesh. I always put in the mesh vertically into the pipe cleaners so that my cut edges will always stay hidden inside of the wreath and not have an opportunity to catch on things, because all mesh frays, it's impossible to avoid, but this helps it helps it from fraying and catching on things a whole lot more than having it the other way. So the cut edges will be on the inside. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this outside cut edge over this inside cut edge, and then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing, outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Now you see I have a point down here. You may or may not be able to see it, but if you don't have a perfectly rounded circle, all you have to do is to go to the opposite end of the mesh, hold the pipe cleaner with one hand, and then pull up where it's dipping in on the other side, up to balance out the circle. So you get a nice circle, okay? Then I try to turn them under, and if you're not sure if you have half of your mesh on either side of the center, just use a ruler or your cutting mat to make sure you've got 5 inches on each side of your pipe cleaner. In the beginning, it doesn't hurt to do that till you get a routine. I'm going to bring this out over here because it's not sitting right. And that usually means it's not pulled out enough. So let me make one more adjustment over here. See how that's dipping in a little? That's dipping in instead of being even. It's not a perfectly circular shape. We're never going to get perfect. It is what it is. This is art. And it's, you know, everyone does things their own way. This is how I suggest it. Now see over here, this has about a 1-inch gap between the two sides. So I'm going to bring the bottom one out just a touch to even it out. Usually the first couple of pieces when I build a wreath, I'm having to manipulate a little bit more. You get into a groove and then it's so much easier. Okay, so there's the first piece. And when I do these wreaths, I do every other on the mesh and every other on the ribbon and then come back and do the other 3. So what that means is I did this one, I'm going to skip this one and come here. When you do the layering that way, it helps it to stay flat even more. Okay, so remember we're turning this curl side down on the table. I'm using the edge of the table to lay it flat. Fold it in half, clip it in the center. There's your center. Do the same thing on the other side. And then you just gather it into your thumbs using all your fingers to curl up the mesh. Give it a lot of little ruffles. Bring it down towards you. Use that clip to help you stay centered. It goes easier and faster when it has a pattern because I'm not having to stop and start so much. You'll learn that as you go if you choose to do this. So I'm holding it loosely. That one's still far out, so I need to bring this one out up here just a touch. This is dipping in a little, so we want to bring that out. So here we go. Back and center, right in front of me. I'm going to put this in there vertically. The pipe cleaners are horizontal, the mesh is vertical. And keep in mind there's a string on this hanging off. They're always going to fray a little. It is what it is. You just clip it off as you go so you don't have to come and do it later. Tight and low. 1, 2, 3. Cut that excess string off that came. Oh, that one just, I didn't even have to cut it. There. Okay, so again, we're going to do that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. And the same thing with the other side, outside cut edge over inside cut edge. I don't do it the opposite way because then I'm putting frays exposed. And we cut edges exposed and we don't want to do that. Now, some people use wood burners to cut their mesh. Excuse me. You can do that if you want, but make sure it's a mesh that doesn't have any kind of fabric in it. That's all plastic like this. There are wreaths that you make petals for like a UITC board, and unique in the creed, I can say that, where it is recommended to use the wood burner because of the way it's made, but not in your average wreath. So I skipped this one. We're going to put the next one in right here. Use that table to uncurl it, fold it in half, clip it in the middle. There's a big string at the end, so I'm just going to cut that off right away, save myself time doing it later. Okay. I'm doing the same thing on this end. Find my center by folding it in half. Ruffle it all into your thumb and keep crawling up the mesh, staying centered. Using that using that chip clip to keep you focused on the center. It just likes to mess with you, doesn't it? Get that clip off, put it in your thumb and forefinger loosely. See, that one came out perfect. We love when that happens. Bring your frame over to you. Place it in the frame, centered, vertically. Tight and low, twist your pipe cleaner. 1, 2, 3. Okay? The string, get it out of here. You'll also notice that I wear short sleeves when I do this. I recommend wearing short sleeves only and nothing new when you are creating with deco mesh. Sweatshirts, just roll them up. But I always recommend short sleeves to make sure you don't have to think about it. And give yourself at least 3 to 4 feet of workspace so that the wreath isn't connecting to everything on the table and dragging it around with it. Been there, done that. Okay, so this is way out here and that's way dipped, so I know I'm going to have to fix that. But first thing first, I'm going to put the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge on one side and then the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge on the other side. Now they're pretty close to lined up, but this is way out here, so I'm going to grab it here and hold the pipe cleaner, and then I'm going to grab it there where it's dented in or inwards. There we go. We are good to go. This is already curling under on the outer edge pretty much, so I'm not having to manipulate it. That's the same thing with that. So there's the first 3. So now we're going to go back and put 3 in between those 3. So same thing. Use the table as your helper. Fold it in half. Add your clip in the center. Go to the other end. Do the same thing. Fold it in half. Find your center. Gather into your thumbs. And gather it up the center with both hands, all your fingers. I have seen people actually accordion their mesh instead of gathering it this way. You could try that too if you'd like. You know, like you do with a little fan you used to cool yourself off. Remember when you were a kid and you made paper fans? That concept. I haven't tried it. It might be something I should try soon, but I'm not going to do it now because I've already done it this way on this one. So I got everything lined up. I have it all held in my thumb and forefinger loosely so I can adjust it. See, now I'm turning it the other direction. I mix it up a lot. And a lot of that factors into which side of the piece of mesh I like better, that I want to make sure faces the outside of the wreath. Okay, we put it in there vertically. We're going to tighten the pipe cleaner tight and low 3 times. And then we're going to take that outside cut edge on one side, put it over the inside cut edge, and then do the same on the other side. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. This is off about 1 inch. So I'm going to grab it there. Make sure it's a nice circle. Check that. That's inward. It needs to be more rounded. Alright, cut my extra pieces off. Now you have the other 2 pieces on each side of it to maneuver around. Just be patient. There will be times when it catches on things, the other pieces of mesh. No big deal. So now, coming over here to do the next one. Notice I'm moving that frame out of the way each time I'm folding mesh, ruffling mesh. That can come off. Curl side down, fold it in half, clip the center, do the same thing on the other end. Got trash, a piece of mesh hitchhiking. Fold in half, thumbs on the outside, rest of the fingers gathering it up the center. I have actually seen at Hobby Lobby, they have a mesh at Christmas that has like a pull tab, a string in the center that ruffles it for you. But I haven't tried it out yet. If I do, I will definitely make a tutorial to show you how it works. That takes away some of the work, but you know, doing this is part of the process. Part of the handmade part of it. So, let's see. I'm way off over here. So let's bring this out. I know that's going to be dipping in. And that looks right now. Maybe. Okay. Bring it over to the frame. Put it vertically in the horizontal pipe cleaners. This is a thicker mesh too, so it's more of a handful. 1, 2, 3, tight and low. I try to remember to put the pipe cleaners up and out of the way while I'm working on the mesh so they're not in the way when I'm adjusting it. I don't need them until I put the ribbon in anyway, which is the next step on this layer. So I'm going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, and this outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, okay? Alright, that needs to get in there. It turned on me. Okay. So now, the more pieces of mesh you have in here, it's going to hold onto itself as well. It's kind of like, I always tell people that mesh is like Velcro, so be very careful with it in that respect. Alright, last but not least, it looks like it's sticking out too far, so I'm going to adjust that just a little bit. It's got a little point that's bugging me on it. So I'm just going to bring it in a little. There we go. Trying to keep it nice and round. The outside edge is all that's going to be seen on this layer because there's going to be ribbon, another layer of mesh, and ribbon. So You want to make sure these outside edges are what look pristine. Okay. Inside, for your own peace of mind, yes, you want to make sure it's fabulous there too. But if it doesn't look perfect on the inside, no one will see it. Okay, use that table to uncurl your mesh, curl side down, fold it in half on one end, clip it. There's your center. Now fold it in half on the other side, find your center, and ruffle it with your thumbs outside. I know I'm repetitive, so if you don't need this much detail, by all means fast forward through this section. See how I reach all the way across this table to ruffle that? If I do that all day, I'm going to have a really sore back. So that's why I say bring it down towards you. So that's all centered. Everything is now lined up. Into the frame we go. Now I haven't made a test of this wreath, so I'm excited even more because I have no idea what it's going to look like complete till I get it finished today. The first fall one this year, I had made one of last year, and that's why I decided that it would be a perfect one for a kit this year. So some of them I do that, make one the prior year and see how it goes over. Some of them I just fly by the seat of my pants, and that was this one. Scarecrows never go out of style, and I knew that smoky blue was a hot color this year. So I knew I would be good in that respect. Alright, so there is our first layer of mesh. I'm going to set this out of the way temporarily because we're going to play with the ribbon now. I'm going to grab 6 bundles. There's 3, because it's 6 for each layer. And these 3, put these over on the side. And at this point, you're going to need the ribbon and a wire cutter for this layer only. The top layer, you're going to need a few more tools. Okay, so in the same fashion that we put the mesh in, we're going to put the ribbon in as well. Okay, so this time we're going to go around and make sure all of our pipe cleaners are now vertical. When you're putting in the mesh, the pipe cleaners need to be horizontal. When you're putting in the ribbon, the pipe cleaners need to be vertical to you. So see how, once again, I'm turning the wreath around and not reaching across the table. Now there's one other thing that I need to talk about with the ribbon. The Scarecrow ribbon is what is called directional. All of the scarecrows go the same direction. So you're going to have to be cognizant of that when you put it in the wreath. There are a lot of directional ribbons. Directional would also be ribbon that has words on it that all go the same direction. And then there's just the others that are not directional where, for example, you would have a scarecrow going this way and the other one would be upside down and right side up and outside down. That way it wouldn't matter how you place the ribbon in your wreath. It would look right no matter what. So when I have directional ribbon, usually I do the first 3, 1, 2, 3, with the scarecrows, in this case, facing this way. Then I'll do the other 3 with the scarecrows facing the other direction. So you have either or. Or you can just determine what the top of your wreath is going to be and make sure that all of your scarecrows are right side up in every tie. But since I'm going with the every other technique, that'll be cute too. Gives it more dimension. Also, this is a pattern, but it's the same on each side. It has the yellows on each side and then green and orange. So you don't have to worry about what direction these go in. If it was green over here and yellow over here, that'd be something you'd also have to consider. And then I would recommend doing the first 3 with the yellow on the outside and the second 3 with the green on the outside. So I hope that's not too confusing, but please feel free to reach out to me if it is. So I'm going to start out, let me refold my bundle, because that crease in the middle is important. That's where we're going to be ruffling this. My hands are sore, that's why I'm holding on to it like that. I did a show last weekend and beat myself up pretty good. Everything's still a little sore. I did a hot air balloon fest, which was a lot of fun. So now I've opened my bundle back up. I've got some nice creases in the center, and I'm going to ruffle them with my fingers up the center. And on the bottom layer only at this point, you're going to take the ends of both sides and bring them down towards you. So in the camera to you, it looks like it's a right side up V, but to me, it's an upside down V. We're doing that before we put it into the pipe cleaner so that we can make sure as much of the ribbon tails stay to the outside of the wreath. They still have a mind of their own, and they'll try to crawl up a little. But on the bottom layer, you're only going to see the outside tips about this far on the outside. The rest will be hidden. So we want to make sure that we do that inverted V, upside down V, right away before we tighten up the pipe cleaners. If you don't, it's not a big deal. This is just one of the tips that I've learned along the way through trial and error. So now we're going to take the pipe cleaner, and just like we did with the mesh, we're going to twist it tight and low 2 to 3 times. And that's going to help keep the height of the wreath as low as possible. But then we're going to twist upwards towards the ceiling to create a one inch or so twist. See that? I have that 1 inch pipe cleaner that's twisted, and then I'm going to cut the excess off with the wire cutters. Okay, then we're going to just fold it down into the wreath, either just lay it flat facing the center of the wreath or tuck it all the way into the mesh but not through it. We do that because no one's going to see it, and we don't need all that extra pipe cleaner on there. The next step is turning the wreath each direction as you're working on each side of the bundle. And you're going to bring up the top 2 ribbons away from the pipe cleaner and the bottom ribbon. Give it a good tug, don't be afraid of it, so that you get as much of the ribbon exposed as possible, and then you're going to place your ribbon in the position you want it. I put a little bit of curling into it, but not too much because it's the bottom layer. We want it to lay pretty flat down there, but it's just habit. Then I'm going to separate the top 2 and place the second one. And you notice I'm running my fingers over the edges and pushing up that little bit of bubble from the gathering right there. And then I'm going to lay the final one where I want it here, okay? So those 3 are where I want them. Now I'm going to turn it and go to the other side, and I'm going to do the opposite. So the plaid will be down here next to this scarecrow, and the scarecrow will be up towards the inside. But we are always going to lift and separate, position and straighten. Lift and separate, position and straighten. Okay? I like to at the end hold it down and just make sure everything is facing as far out to the edge as possible. We never handle the ends, the cut ends of the ribbon. It's just like the mesh. The less you handle it, the less fray you're going to have. We're going to skip that one. We're going to put the next bundle in, keeping in mind that the first 3 I'm doing are going to have the scarecrow facing this way with him upright. I'm going to ruffle that. There we go. Bringing the ends down towards me, making sure they're even on each side of the center. That looks pointy again. Or is this a different one? It bugs me when it's pointy on the outside, so there we go. Much better. How did that come undone? Okay. So, again, centered. Bring that pipe cleaner up. I use the palm of my hand on one hand to help hold the thing in place so it doesn't move. Tight and low. 1, 2, 3 with the pipe cleaner. Now we're going to go upwards to create a 1 inch twist. And then cut the excess off. Press it down into the wreath. Work on one side of the bundle. So up in position. And this might pop up when you're doing that. That's not a big deal. You can always push it back down when you're done. Some people leave it up until they're done. I go back and forth. But for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to try to be consistent. And then we're placing that one in position. That's pretty bubbly up there. There we go. Turn it. I need to put that down here. This time, lift and separate. Bring the plaid down towards the center. Smoke in the middle. Smoke blue, that is. And the scarecrow at the top. I'm going to hold it down a little bit. Press that back in. We're wanting to make sure as much of the ribbon faces the outside of the wreath as possible. Skip again. Remembering we got to have the scarecrow in the same direction as the other 2. Gather it up the center. Fold it together, make it an even upside down V. Put it in there. The ribbon is going in horizontally into the vertical pipe cleaner. So tight, low, 1, 2, 3. That one wants to pop up. So lift up, separate, place. Lift up, separate, place. Run your fingers along the edges to make them nice and smooth. Turn, lift, and separate, place. Ooh, got carried away there. And then run my fingers off it, pop open the bubbles. And I forgot to do the twist, but that's okay. Just don't forget, ultimately, before you go to the second layer, you always want to check your work anyway. Alright, so there's the first 3. Now we'll go back and do the other 3 in the middle. Now we're going to make sure that the snow... No, wait, I keep thinking about Christmas because I'm buying supplies for Christmas right now. Now the Scarecrow needs to be facing the other direction. So right there, he's upside down. Okay, let go. Let go. Do not just pull because you could end up pulling your wire out, which is what this is trying to do. And then it'll be a limp piece of ribbon. You can still use it, but it'll be pretty limp. See that? Put it in the frame. Tighten low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then upwards to make a 1-inch twist. Cut off the excess. Tuck it into the frame. Position your ribbon. Okay. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Position as I'm running my fingers over the edges to make sure they're straight. Not wrinkled. Same thing. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Place this. Like I said, I like to hold it at the top. Never hold your ribbon from the tips. 2 to go. Okay. So now we want to make sure that we're checking to make sure you're putting the ribbon in the right direction. I ruffled in the center where the crease was. Fold it in half with the tips at the edge of the table towards me, which is an upside down V. Place it in the pipe cleaner. 1, 2, 3, tighten low, and then upwards. It's usually 6 to 8 twists to get your 1-inch twist. Cut the excess off. Tuck it into the mesh. Okay, position your ribbon. Lift, separate, place. Lift, separate, place. And then the last one. And then the other side, remembering we're doing opposing. So the plaid is down here. The blue is always in the center in this design, and then the Scarecrow on top. And just a reminder, you don't have to do it exactly like me. If you wanted to put the plaid on top and the Scarecrow on the bottom, or the smoky blue on the bottom, whatever combination you want to do is entirely up to you. I'm doing the design that you see at the beginning of the tutorial and in the Etsy shop where you purchase the wreath completed or the wreath kit. Okay, so last but not least for this layer, making sure these are the right direction. I go from one side to the other when I ruffle. Sometimes I start at the top and come towards me. Sometimes I go from me to the top. Fold it in half, making sure that that ribbon is in an inverted V, and then put it into the frame. Tight pipe cleaner twist. 1, 2, 3, making sure they're low, then twist up for about 1 inch and cut off the excess. Tuck it into the frame, and now place your ribbon. Lift, separate, place. Run your fingers over it. Lift, separate, place, and then place, making sure that the wires are straight, that as much of the bubbles are out at the top. lift, separate, position, and lift, separate, position. Okay, let's get that there. And we have completed the first layer. Okay, still doesn't look like a whole lot yet. We're getting there. Don't fuss with the ribbon on this layer too much. You'll do that at the end once it's done. The less you handle any of this product, the better. You don't want it to look worn out before you even get started. So we're going to now lift all the pipe cleaners on the inside 2 rings, these, and they're going to come up, all 6 of them, in between 2 pieces of mesh. So this is up through these 2. This comes up through these 2. This comes up between these 2. Here. And here. There's a lot of repetitive motion in here, isn't there? Then I go ahead and position them again horizontal to me so that we can put the mesh in the final layer. Stay. In some ways, standing to do this is probably better because you're not so close and catching on everything. But, you know, you do what's most convenient for you. I will get up when it's time to put the sign on because I want to make sure that everything's centered correctly. Okay, so now we're going to bring that mesh back to us. And on this layer, I'm going to show you guys the second way that I ruffle mesh. Okay, it's still going to be curl side down, roll it out on the table, fold it in half, place your clip in the center to mark your center point since this is solid colored mesh. Now we're going to go to the other side, fold it in half and find the center. And I'm going to start out the same way as I did on the other 6 pieces by putting it in my thumb and forefingers and just crawling up here till I get to about here. Then, and it's also important on the second layer for me, I think that's why I started doing it this way, is since the mesh is curlier, it has a harder time laying flat on the table. So that's where I often put my phone, but this also helps me keep it flat while I'm ruffling it, and I'm pretty adept at ruffling it with one hand. So I put one hand up here. It also holds it taut, and then I just use the fingers on one hand to gather. And I still focus on that chip clip in the center, so I stay centered when I'm ruffling, and then I put it in one hand and a thumb and forefinger and adjust the circle to make sure it's as close to round as possible. Okay, and I'm going to come over here, same as before. I'm going to put that mesh in the pipe cleaner vertically, making sure it's centered. Now with everything else on the wreath, it's a little more challenging, but not really, because you've got other things in the middle of the mix. So tight and twist low 3 times. I'm going to lift it up out of the air. I see a couple frays right away. Let me get rid of them. Alright, so now I'm going to take the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, lay it down, outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. So we are way wider on the outside, so I got to reach underneath and grab it down by the pipe cleaners to bring it out even. We'll do that again on the other side since it wasn't that round. Okay, we're good to go. Now we can move on to this one, remembering to skip one. I'm going to fold it in half, curl side down, clip the center. Other side, mark the center, gather a little bit, and then I'm going to use this hand to stabilize the mesh so I'm not fighting it so much. Remember to make your gather small enough. It makes a difference in how it lays too. Okay, I'm just going to do that. Make an adjustment there. So I'm not doing that when I'm going here. Bring the pipe cleaner up on each side of the center. Boy, this one's starting to give me... I said my hands were sore, didn't I? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Tight and low. Then just put it up in the air so it's out of the way. Take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. And the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge on this side. Make sure it's circular, that the edges match up. There we go. That looks good. That's still pointy, and this is dipping in a little, so I want to fix that. Okay, skip that one. Go to this one. Use that table. It's getting really curly. Fold it in half. Clip the center. Do the same thing on this side. And then that. Okay. Check this out. That side's a little less round. Okay. Bring it over. Vertically into the pipe cleaner. Centered. Twist the pipe cleaner tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I said 3 times. It can be 2 or 3 times. It's entirely up to you. Take that outside cut edge on this side and fold it over the inside edge. Outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Get that out of there. Outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Make the adjustments you need to, but not grabbing on the outer edge. Grabbing down towards the pipe cleaner. There we go. And now we'll do the final 3, which is 1 in between each of the pieces I just placed in there. See how much smaller that is of a curl? So I'm going to grab 1. Definitely use the table to uncurl it. Enough to fold it in half and clip it. Lay it down on the table. Sometimes even with the clip, it'll curl up on me. That's why I like this technique a little bit different than the original ruffle technique that I did on the bottom layer, because it fights me less when I hold it. Fold it in half. Start ruffling. Definitely using both hands. Then ruffle up the center. Pull your clip off. Get it all on your thumb and forefinger. Bring it in here. Tight and low 3 times with the pipe cleaner. Always keeping in mind that if this is going on behind a storm or a screen door, you want to do that. It also retains as much of the pipe cleaner as possible left for doing additions on the top, like if you put any embellishments. If you don't keep it tight and low, you're going to run out of pipe cleaner. And you don't want to do that. So I'm bringing that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Get out of the way, pipe cleaners. Notice I'm using my forearm to hold everything down. That's helpful. Outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Alright, let's make any adjustments. That's pointing out, so that means on this side it's not. It's dipping in. Alright. Looks like I got an extra piece left because I have 13 in these kits. There we go. Use that table to unruffle, unroll, uncurl. Pick a word. This one's going to come off regardless. I'm going to pull it off now. Fold it in half. Ruffle it up, staying on center. Now I'm holding it at the top to finish ruffling. I feel like I'm quicker when I do it this way. I may not be. I don't know. I feel more comfortable doing it this way as well. Alright, this one decided to hide. Get back out here. Centered. Twist tight and low 3 times. Get that out of the way. Take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Just always remember that the mesh goes in vertically, the ribbon goes in horizontally. Outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. That will make it easier to remember. So now last but not least, I can put the extra piece away. You could ruffle it up, the extra piece, with the ribbon when you have when you get done at the end, and make a little ruffle to put on your mailbox or a lantern or whatever you want to do with it. See how curly that is? Alright. Uncurl it a little bit. Fold it in half. Find my center. Take this extra piece off. Okay, I guess I gotta cut it to get it off. Right? Here. No. I'll get it later. When we get it on the wreath, I'll get it. Okay, fold it in half. I like to make things difficult. I'm trying not to right now. I've been told that before. I like to do things the hard way. But this is definitely not the hard way to make a wreath. It's broken down, don't you think, in so many easy steps that you know, you can't go wrong. Alright, let's get that there. I'm going to use this side on the outside, so I'm not going to twist the wreath again like I have been. I'm going to place that in there, centered. Tight and low, twist it. 1, 2, 3. Get it out of the way for now. And now I'm going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. All this stuff is in there now. It's a little more to work. Where is it? There it is. Inside cut edge, outside cut edge over that. Make any adjustments. I got some frays I need to address. That one came out on its own. Okay, that looks like it's a little wider over there, so I need to bring this down just a touch here. Alright, so now we have the entire base completed. And now you have to make a decision. Do you want to put the ribbon on the top layer first or the sign? I will tell you how I make my decision most of the time. When I'm using a license plate shaped sign, I usually put the sign in first and then the ribbon so it overlaps a little bit to frame it. But if you have a sign that is a specific shape, like a circle, well, even a circle you can do that with, but a heart or a star or an egg, you want to make sure that they can still see the shape of the sign because it's important for its look. In that case, I would definitely put the ribbon on first. And like in my happy birthday cake tutorial, I put all the ribbon on first because there's so much going on. There's candles sticking out the top. There's a pedestal at the bottom, all the things. So you want to make sure all that is seen and not buried. So there is that. So this is where I stand up. If you're doing it sitting like I am, this is where I stand up. You're going to want to make sure one pipe cleaner is at 12 o'clock and one is at 6 o'clock. That's how you know where your center is. And then what I do is I usually separate these two and these two in opposite directions because this will fit perfectly between them. And then what I'm going to do is I have this other tool. You can get these from Amazon. Let me bring this in as tight as I can so you can see what it looks like. It's a plastic embroidery needle. They make metal ones, they make shorter ones, but I found that the 6-inch length is the best for trying to do this job. The average person on the average project, good Lord, usually just pushes this through the mesh, which is easy enough, but it gets a little frustrating sometimes. So I use this as a helping tool to get it through the frame, the pipe cleaner. So I'm making sure everything is positioned where I want it to be. If I've got words on the sign, that often helps you determine where your center is. So that looks like to be the center. And when you're attaching the pipe cleaners, you do it in an X formation. So if I do this one, then I'm going to do this one. Then I'm going to do this one, then I'm going to do this one. So the first two, after the first two, you're going to tighten them up on the back. And then you're going to come back and do the other two and tighten them on the back. That keeps your sign flat on the wreath and flush but not buried. You don't want to look like squished. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to lift the frame. And I'm going to put this in next to the pipe cleaners that are on the mesh, that are holding the mesh, and go slightly under the sign. And then I'm going to bring the tip of the pipe cleaner through that, and I'm going to push it through, and then pull it out the back side and off of the pipe cleaner. And then I'm going to turn the wreath. Since I did that one, I'm going to do this one now. Same thing. I'm going to lift the wreath a little bit, bring that under the sign next to the pipe cleaners, feed the top of that pipe cleaner through the frame, and pull it off. Okay, making sure it's centered. I like to take the packaging that it came in to cover the sign, because I'm going to flip this over now, and I want it to be protected and not scratched. I hold it in place when I flip it so it stays where I want it to stay. And I'm going to take the pipe cleaners and then just wrap them around the frame until they're gone. These first two, if I can get a grip on them. I wouldn't recommend cutting any of the excess off. You never know if you're going to need to take the sign off or move it or something. And then when I get down to what's left of it, I poke it down into the wreath but not through, because you want to make sure it's smooth on the back, especially if someone has a glass door insert that this is going to be laying against. This is a good time to find any frays on the back. Get that taken care of. Do these. Lift that off. It's kind of hard to tell in a solid colored ribbon sometimes. So then I'm going to go to the other side. I should be turning this based on my direction, but I'm not going to because I'm standing now. Just wrap that around. I usually wrap it around near one of the pipe cleaners from the mesh bases. Put that end under there. I'm going to flip it back over. It's secure so I don't have to hold on to the sign. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other two pipe cleaners. I'm going to take this and put it right there. Right next to the pipe cleaner, but slightly under the sign because we don't want to see it. There we go. Wasn't cooperating. And making sure at the same time you're not trying to drive this needle through the ribbon. If you have to pull some of the ribbon on the bottom layer out of the way temporarily, so be it. So that's through. Come over here. Do the same thing on this side. Drive it through slightly under the sign. And it's going off in its own path. Okay, there we go. Get that through there. And that doubled up at some point. It must have kinked the pipe cleaner a little bit. So I need to make sure I unkink it so it's sitting flat. So now this is sitting nice and flat, snug as a bug, but not sucked in. Put that on to protect your sign. And we'll go back and tighten these around the frame. Come on. Okay. I'm putting a slight bit of pressure on the whole wreath, but not a whole lot. That's how I get it to settle right. You want it snug enough that it's not going to flop around. Oh, I know another thing I was going to tell you. The pipe cleaners. Why did I choose beige pipe cleaners? I chose beige pipe cleaners because of the colors in the ribbon. If I can match the color exactly of the edge of a ribbon, I do so. If not, something that's within that that's not going to be too bold unless you want it to be bold. So now it's complete. And now I'm going to sit back down. Because we're going to add the final touches, which is the final layer of the ribbon. Okay. Okay, another hint. Do what you want, but this is another hint of mine. I always put the ribbon tails in 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock last. And I usually do these two first and then these two. Just the way it lays, it has a pattern, and it once again helps it lay flat. Okay? Seeing things. Okay, so I'm going to start here. Also remember with this kit, you have that directional Scarecrow ribbon, so you're going to put the first 3 in and then the second 3. Well, sort of. The first 2 and then 2 and 2. Well, let's go with that, okay? So I'm going to do the first bundle right here. Right side up with the scarecrows. This time I'm not going to do the V, the upside V. I want to spread this ribbon out. Flare it out a lot. 3 times tight and low. I'm just going to put it up in the air for now, because there's a couple techniques at the end you can address these pipe cleaners on. I will do one and show you 2. So now we're just going to take our ribbon, just like we did on the bottom layer, lift, separate, position, lift, separate, position. I am going to give it a little extra curl, and you can also use the pen, pencil, or the dowel to help you with the curl even more. You can do this if you want it to be nice and fluffy, or you can just do, I'll do it on this side first, but I'm going to change it to fluffy. Lift and separate, position, lift and separate, and position. Whether you do it completely flat on the ribbon or put that little poof in it, when you put it behind a storm door, it's still going to lay it down flat a little bit, but it won't look crushed. It'll look like it should. So see how that's flatter? I think I'm going to go with flatter today. Why not, right? All right. So the pipe cleaners. I try to do them as I go along too. That's what the dowel is for, or if you have a pen or pencil. The first thing I like to do is, you don't have to, but I like to even out the pipe cleaners, because when you're twisting them, you end up with one longer than the other at some point. You can twist it the way I did on the bottom layer. So you can twist it until you get about 2 or 3 inches, and then you can just tuck it behind one side and then cut the excess off. And then you'll only just have this little stump showing. You can just leave it like that, or you can add an embellishment or a button. That would be cute too. Or you can do what I'm going to go with on this particular design today. You fix what I did. And I'm going to undo this so that I only have the 3 initial twists that I did. And I'm going to take the dowel and I'm going to twist it around. You can just twist it around and just put it at the base of your center. Or once you curled it like that, you could pull it out and make it look like a spring. You can or can't, you may or may not want to put something on the end of it. It's entirely up to you. Another idea that would be really cute on this design is if you used little bundles of raffia in here to give it a more rustic look. Let me bring it back out. So that's the first bundle. And then remember I said down here, so we got to make sure that the Scarecrow goes the opposite direction. So he was right side up, he's going to be upside down. And I should have gotten all my pipe cleaners ready ahead of time, and I didn't. So after this, I put this in here and get it set. I will do it with the others. 1, 2, 3, tight and low. Now you noticed I did all of the plaid on the inside and both of the plaid on the inside and both of the Scarecrow on the outside, which is different than how I did it on the bottom. I like to mix it up for the dimension of it all. So since I did the plaid on the inside here, I'm going to do the plaid on the outside. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. And then position the top one. So you get more design, more dimension in your project that way too. Okay. I turned it a little bit. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. And then position. Then I'm going to do my pipe cleaners. These are barely different, but I'm going to cut the excess off anyway. It's just a habit I've created. Twist it around, and I usually twist the inner one towards the sign, and I twist the outer one away from the sign. It's just what I do. Okay, so that is those two. Now we're going to come over here and do this one, then this one. So for the sake of the pattern, this right here will match this. This will match this. So let's do that. So that one was right side up. So this one will be right side up. Oh, you guys, I didn't do it. Again, let's get this stuff all ready. I'm anxious to get this done because I'm really excited about it, okay? Put that in there. Twist tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Bring them up so I can cut them. That one's off a fair amount. Okay, I'll get that off. And so this will be exactly the same. So the plaid will be towards the sign. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. And then position. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. And then position. And you can fluff it a little bit more. Get it positioned and straightened out later. Let me just go ahead and twist towards the sign. When I make wreaths that I think are going to be purchased for men, I don't do this technique. I do the other technique that I showed you. This is a little bit, I would say this might be a little bit more feminine, but that's me. You do you, okay? So now it's time for this one. So that one was right side up. So this one will be upside down. Gather the center where the crease was, put it in your frame, twist tight 1, 2, 3, and low. These are perfectly even. Well, you never know. So this means that the plaid will go to the outside edge on this one. So lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Make any adjustments you need. Okay. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. I'm going to turn this a little bit more this way because I don't want to cover the A and U of the word autumn. I want to see it all, right? Ruffle that. I mean, not ruffle. Twist. So many words. I end up mixing them up by the time and then the project comes. Words are hard sometimes. I twisted that one towards the sign, and on this side I'm twisting it towards me. Alright, so we got the outside 4 done. So now we've got 2 left. So this one's facing the scarecrow this way. And this one's facing the other way. So I need to go, did I do it right? So it should be this one there. And this one here. So they're the opposite of each other. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. See, I even put it on the wreath to make sure that I had it right. There's nothing wrong with double checking to make sure you got everything as it should be. Putting that in there. Twist 1, 2, 3, tight and low. This one needs to be, not really, it's barely, but I'm going to cut it anyway. So we're going to put the plaid up towards the sign, lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Position. Right. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. And then, last but not least, make sure that they're not cockeyed. Twist it towards the sign on that side. Twist it towards me. Curl it, twist it, whichever word you want to go with. Towards me. Make sure your ribbon is nice. And then we're going to go over here and do the top one. I'm trying to make sure that this one and this one are in the same position so they look even on each side. After I've ruffled the center, I'm bringing it in. 1, 2, 3, tight and low. So we're going to have the Scarecrow towards the center. So turn a little bit more. And we're going to lift and separate, position. Lift and separate, position. And then the top one just needs to be positioned and fluffed out. They all need to be fluffed out, but lift, separate, position. Lift and separate and position. Catching on my finger, my hands are dry. Alright. I was out in the field grass and dirt all weekend with my event that I attended. So we're gonna, oh, did I check it? No, I didn't, so let me cut that just a touch. Put that in the trash. Curl towards the sign. Curl towards me. Alright, then last but not least, we lift the mesh from the top layer to make sure our ribbon on the bottom is lifted and facing the outside of the wreath, because we want to see all that beautiful ribbon as well. But don't just pull on the ribbon, lift the mesh out of the way, because otherwise it can cause the mesh to fray and the ribbon to fray, which is a no-go either way. I'm trying to get all these out so you can see the prettiness. Beautiful ribbon. That one's definitely snagging. Better be careful. Be careful, Marguerite. That's the second one. Maybe the third. I lost count already. Just from handling the top layer, you're going to knock some of the ribbon out of alignment, so to speak. So it's good to do one final turn on the bottom. That's backwards, Marguerite. Blue in the middle, blue in the middle. Okay. Position all that. That one's really stuck. Okay, there we go. Lift in position. Make sure it's all straight. I think I did that one already, but you know, it can't hurt to do it a second time. Alright, let me just curl that down just a little. Cover a little bit more of that mesh. It needs a touch of curl. I don't like it completely flat. I like the dimension of the curl. There we go. Okay, that one's a little cockeyed up here. Blue is not in the center. I could be sitting here doing this all day, but I'll stop. Alright, and there is the 2025 Fall Storm Door Wreath Kit with the Scarecrows. Welcome autumn. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. New videos premiere every Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can shop for my finished wreaths in my Etsy shop, as well as the kit for this one, and many other kits that I have as well in that shop. You can also follow me and get reminders on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest as well, all at Wreaths by Marguerite. The only thing I don't do is TikTok, but everywhere you can find me, I'm Wreaths by Marguerite. And at Wreaths by Marguerite, we want to say most of all that we thank you for spending some time with us. We know that your time is valuable, and the fact that you carve out some time to spend with us here today making pretty things means a whole lot to us. So thank you very much. It's deeply appreciated. Until next time, happy crafting, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.